Hey guys, welcome to Truth Talks. Now, each Thursday I'm going to be putting a brief video on YouTube, and I'm going to be talking to you about various aspects of truth and stories that might be relatable for most any of us in life. Truth, by definition, simply means something that is verifiable. If it's true, it's verifiable. It cannot really be disputed. Now, anytime that you see any kind of discussions that are out there regarding, one person's opinion versus another person's opinion, you're always going to get this idea that, truth can be meaning one thing to one person or one thing to someone else. Well, that's not really so, because truth by definition, again, simply means it is verifiable. If it's true, you can absolutely prove it to be true. We're living in a world right now that is full of chaos and full of all kinds of issues and problems, and people really don't always know how to identify something that's true. Let's look at it this way. Maybe they don't know how to identify something that's real versus something that is fake. Maybe something that is real versus something that is an imposter. Now, we have a lot of different things. As a matter of fact, it's almost springtime here in Tennessee, and in my yard I have a bunch of roses, and every year when the roses start to bloom, there's another little bush that comes up right beside the roses, and it's got, thorns on it like the rose bush does, and it has this little bud on it, looks just like a little rose bush. But once that it's opened up, you can identify that it's not a rose bush, it's actually a weed. So in that particular situation, that rose bush actually proved itself to be a rose bush, while the imposter, that little thorny bush, identified itself as a fake when it bloomed. So there's another idea that I had that I want to talk to you about in this concept of whether or not something is real or whether or not something is a fake. So I went to my closet the other day and I got a pair of shoes out to wear, and it happened to be this pair right here. Now, you look at these shoes, you can identify these are what they call Yeezys, all right? These are incredibly expensive shoes on my budget. Now, I don't know what somebody else's budget is. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to tell you actually that this particular pair of shoes, although it might look just like a brand new pair of Yeezys that you would pay full price for, these were not bought at full price. These are actually what they call knockoffs. Now, I got these recently when I was in another country, and they have just about every imaginable knockoff for attire that you can identify. All of the name brand stuff, they've got knockoffs. Okay, aside from whether or not you think I was right or wrong in buying the shoes, that's not the point. Point is, I paid $26 for that pair of Yeezys, and they're incredibly comfortable and they feel good. If you put them right beside somebody else's who has an actual authentic pair of Yeezys, I don't know if you can tell the difference until you kind of dig into it. Maybe looking at the price tag, because it absolutely feels like, looks like an authentic pair of Yeezys. Now, I have a friend who's a banker, and I called my friend the other day and asked the question, in the banking business, how do you identify counterfeit? And there's a lot of discussion out there about counterfeit, and as you know, unfortunately, counterfeit money is everywhere, and people are doing all kinds of things to get ahead in the game, and they're lying and stealing and cheating and faking and all of that. Well, I asked my friend, I said, what are the marks that would identify whether or not this particular dollar bill is authentic U.S. Treasury printed, or whether or not this was made in some garage somewhere and has been put into the U.S. currency? There's three values that she talked about, and told me that you actually have a watermark. So every U.S. Treasury printed dollar bill has a watermark, and that watermark is very noticeable, and you can look at it and identify the watermark. And then if you hold this up to it, it's got what's called a security line that runs down one side of it, and that security line is another indicator that it's authentic. And then the third thing is, if you look at it in the light, you can see a bunch of little specks, and the little specks are a third way to identify whether or not that dollar bill is counterfeit or whether or not that dollar bill is real. I don't know where that little 15-year-old voice comes out every once in a while, but here's my question for you. In this world that we're living in, when someone looks at you, what are they going to see? Are they going to identify a person that is real and authentic, caring, loving, compassionate, forgiving, that wants to make a difference in somebody else's life? Or are they going to look at you and right off the bat be able to identify that you're a fake, that you're an imposter, that you're really not who you say you are? You see, in every line of work, in every line of activity, in probably every a piece of apparel made, there's always the possibility for an imitation. There's always something that's going to rise up, that's going to look like, sound like, smell like, even taste like, but it's not the real thing. In the world in which we're living in, right now, in the middle of COVID-19, everything seems to be at a gridlock. The hope is, seemingly to go away by people, and they think that it's not going to get any better. I'm convinced that they need you and I to be people who are authentic, who are real, who when we say something, they can count on it. When they need something, we can deliver it. And when we stand in front of other people, albeit through this video and through all of the social media that's out there, and when you say something, the people who can look at you and identify you're real, and that when you say something, you really mean it, and you really care, and you're making a difference in their life. My question, truth is something that really is proven. It's reliable. It's verifiable. You can't really deny the fact that it's true. An imitation, everywhere, always. My question is, are you a person of authenticity? Are you real? Or are you an imposter, an imitation, a fake? Well, eventually, people will know.